Give it to me. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Queer Collective podcast. My name is Karbon, resident gay and free advice that nobody wants philanthropist.
And I'm Emily, expert in relationships and sexuality with a degree from the University of Personal Experience.
And welcome to the podcast.
Hey girl, have you ever had your heart torn to shreds by the man you thought you knew?
Does this sound familiar?
I'm gonna die alone. I hate him. I hate all men. I'm gonna become a lesbian. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Are you kidding, but not really kidding? Well, then this is the podcast for you.
We've done the heavy lifting on our own journeys of self-discovery, so you don't have to. Today we're gonna give you the true tea on straight relationships versus gay relationships.
To help you decide which team you are going to play for.
All jokes aside, we know that sexuality is fluid and everyone has to decide for themselves. And we're just here to sort of share with you our personal experiences of when we've dated men, making the transition to dating women, and now like what we see are the differences between the two. And if you feel like you want to experience a gay relationship, then do it.
Just
if you don't,
it.
if you die without doing it, that is going to eat you alive.
If you want it.
You ever had one gay dream? Just do it.
You want to do it? Just do it.
In reality, though, saying that you hate all men and you're going to become a lesbian is a bit annoying, okay? It generalizes all men. And second of all, it doesn't make lesbians feel very good either, so let's just throw that out.
I completely agree with that because, yeah, I agree. Not all men are the same, regardless of whatever experiences that you've had with men. And then B, it doesn't automatically mean that you're going to have luck with women either. Now, I'm going to give you the tea on this. Usually, if you keep running into the same problem, you're the problem.
Sorry, sis. And honestly, if you actually do like women, a girl breaking up with you is going to hurt just as bad.
Or worse.
Definitely worse.
Probably worse.
That shit burns. So, have you ever had someone say this in your presence?
I have never had somebody say that exact line to me. But I have had girls come up to me, and straight girls, by the way, and just kind of assuming that I'm going to be into them because I am into girls in general. And, you know, sometimes straight girls I have found just want to have some sort of like woman-on-woman experience without actually really wanting to pursue women. As like a romantic partner, which is fine, by the way. But sometimes because I personally like women, they just assume that I'm going to like all of them. You know, like for some reason, people, or at least in my experience, straight women have assumed that because I like women, that I like all women and that I don't have like character traits that I look for, personality types, values, morals, you know, the human things.
But like some gay gals do enjoy the spaghetti.
What? What's the spaghetti?
Some like they're straight until they're wet. But some people do enjoy that. So like live your life if you want to do that. But just like be respectful. We're human beings. I'm not a piece of meat. But I have had an experience though where a girl has said that to me and hit on me in like the same swoop. So like
one swoop?
Yeah.
One just fluid swoop.
So I was at like a party, small get together type thing, and I think I was just chatting with this girl and it came up that I like girls. And
you what?
Yeah, yeah. I think I've come out on this podcast before, so I don't think that should be a surprise anymore. But yeah, I like girls. So she was like, oh my God. And I think she had a boyfriend who was there. And she was like, oh my God, I hate men. I have like thought about becoming a lesbian. I was like,
You've thought about it. Okay,
Yeah.
this is a lifelong decision. You've been kind of like similar how you've thought about buying like that next pair of shoes. I've thought about it for so long. I think I'm finally gonna do it.
Like, keep thinking, sis. And then for the rest of the night, she just kept hitting on me, and I was like really nervous. Like, I was just like, where's your boyfriend?
You boxed up?
I boxed up. I was just like, okay.
Did you attempt to like pursue this person or just like kind of play along with it a little bit?
No, I just like avoided.
And you just ran away
Went to the other side.
Yeah,
of
that
the
sounds
room.
like you.
And then also just like having people kind of assume that since I like girls that I like them, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Similar things as well, where it's just like, no, not you.
Not you. I still have morals.
So, Miss Karbon,
Hello?
you have been in one long-term relationship
Yes, indeed.
with a guy.
Mm.
And I've also been in one like long-term relationship of 2 years with a guy. And I've had like scattered relationships here and there as well before I like, made the leap, followed my dreams, pursued my passion. So that's kind of like what we're going to be pulling from when we talk about straight relationships versus gay relationships. Obviously, it's not the same for everyone. This is just kind of like things that we've noticed and ways that we've like grown.
Of course. So I think that the first thing, and this might go for you as well, I don't know, but one of the things that I noticed like while I was in a straight relationship versus any gay relationships has been that anytime that there's been an argument in a straight relationship, I've always assumed that I'm just going to win. Now, that could be a total just like I was more immature then, which definitely plays a role. And also that I like just wanted to win. But I also think that there's certain like social gender norms that come into play. Like, for example, like first date, when a guy asks you out, you kind of expect them to pay and they also expect to pay. And any single like it's always like courteous to offer to pay, like with anybody at all, like when you're out on the first date. But also I felt more like they should pay back in the day, like
totally.
guys should pay and that I shouldn't pay for the first date, which is kind of something that like society really put in my head, but it doesn't really make sense as to why that's a thing. I personally don't get it. I don't see how like financials come into play when it comes to guys and girls, like. But
that's like it kind of pulls women backwards because the reason that I think that comes from is basically like men being the only breadwinner in like the household and women not working, women staying at home. So like it's like the chivalrous thing to do for a man to pay for your meal. And a lot of people still do expect that. It's like if a man doesn't pay for your meal on the first date, like don't call him,
Right.
And I definitely used to think that way as well. Like once you got into a long-term relationship, obviously it's like more balanced. You start paying for things. So after I started like dating women, I started actually struggling with this a little bit. I'm like, who pays? And that was like boggling my mind that both of us should just offer. And it's just a kind thing to do, to offer to pay for your date's meal, And like when I first started dating girls, I would try to like impose gender roles on them. And I was like, which is a shitty thing to do. You know what I mean? It's like they're the man in the relationship because they're more like masculine. And it's like, huh?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of similar to when, because it does bother me when people are like, who's the man in the relationship? Or for like gay guys, it's like, who's the girl in the relationship? It's like, neither. And that's the point.
Yeah. And I think that when you start to get into like the fluidity of it, it's important to know and it's important to recognize and respect and appreciate non-binary, because for the both of us, we both identify as females. We both identify as like she or her, and women, but that's not the case for some people. And, and it's even a harder thing and more of like a slap in the face when you impose gender norms on non-binary people, because that's exactly what I mean, I'm just kind of assuming a little bit, but that's exactly what I assume they are trying to get away from.
Totally.
Because
Yeah.
and it is toxic to impose gender norms on anybody, actually, men, women, non-binary. I think that those gender norms in general shouldn't exist. I understand why they exist and like history and how you said like men were the breadwinners and whatnot and that women stayed home, but that is no longer the case, people. Like we have evolved and now women are making just as much money or more, and non-binary people are making just as much money or more or whatever. And
I would like to point out there is still a gender wage gap in Canada, so that's still an issue. But yeah, women are definitely boss ass biatches, same with non-binary folks. But yeah, that's an issue. Just wanted to point out. Continue.
No, it is definitely an issue, but I think that the gap is slowly, but as we're pushing towards it, closing, and then that's also just like there's no need anymore to have those norms. There's absolutely no need, even between like straight relationships with a guy and a girl. There's just no need for that anymore, and I think that those old fashion ways are just like, you can just toss that out, we don't need that anymore. It's good, we're good.
And that's definitely a way that I grew, though. Once I started dating women, like that really made me think about it a lot when I like in my first relationship or like the first time I started dating. It made me look back and realize how toxic I was kind of being. And a lot of women do that. Like I've had friends where it's like they won't date a guy unless they pay for them to get their nails done like every 2 weeks and like that kind of stuff. Like, like
that's weird.
It's but these are sort of things that are just like socially ingrained in us. And that's why I was kind of like discriminating against myself. You know what I mean? When I was trying to impose those gender roles. And that's why like I think you brought up non-binary, and I think that is so revolutionary. Like challenging this binary that takes over our whole society, and especially like it takes over in some countries the language as well, like in French and Spanish. I don't know, sometimes like I even keep my mouth shut a little bit about like in certain scenarios where I feel uncomfortable, but it's just like being so authentically yourself, so loudly, so proudly, that is revolutionary.
That also like brings up another thought, which was how I would dress back in the day, and like when I first kind of came out and was like, okay, like let's explore this new realm that is so new to me. And another thing that when it comes to like gender norms is that I was still playing into the gender norms, even though I was having no longer having experiences with men, whereas like I felt like, well, okay, now I need to dress masculine and I need to be masculine and I need to look masculine, and I was like wearing clothes that would like kind of help me look more masculine and like walk in a certain way, and like down to like my mannerisms and like the way that I like kind of carried myself. And I used to look more masculine, dress more masculine on purpose, and then recently I realized I don't need to do that. I can just dress however I want, look however I want, talk however I want, and have my mannerisms be that way. And it doesn't make me any less like worthy of anything. It also, which is a big thing for myself, it doesn't make me any less of a woman with how I dress and how I talk and how I carry myself, because I have a more of like a masculine personality. It doesn't make me any less of a woman if that is what I choose to identify as, which it is. It's kind of hard coming to terms with that, because I look at someone like you who has a more feminine persona, and sometimes every now and then my mind will slip into that state of thought, which is, women are feminine. And, sometimes I have insecurities when it comes to how either strong I am, like physically strong. I used to have like, I used to be more muscular, even like a year ago. And even though I was like physically stronger and fit and like I appreciated my body, there was still those insecurities that would pop up every now and then of like, I'm too big or I'm too muscular and I'm not allowed to be this muscular because I identify as a woman. And those things I would definitely struggle with. And I know it's, we're mostly talking about like straight relationships versus gay relationships, but I think that this still kind of ties into it of like who plays what role. And even within like gay relationships, there's still those like roles that are still being imposed to this day of like who's playing what role, like the man and the woman. Like that's still a thing
in so many different ways too.
In many different ways, down to the way that you dress, to the way of like who holds who. And like for example, like who's little spoon, who's big spoon, like like even
Men
little things like
little
that.
Spoons
Men
too.
can totally be little spoons.
Being little spoon is the best. The way that you brought up feeling like you needed to change the way you dress when you first joined the queer community, I think that's a feeling that a lot of people have. And I think just like based on the amount of people that I've spoken to about this, a lot of people say that they've experienced sort of like an identity crisis when they first come out, where you feel like you need to be like oozing whatever persona that you're choosing to fit into. Like a lot of gay guys feel like they need to just be this like flamboyant twink,
Right.
And it's like for some people that is who they are, but I've heard a lot of people just say like, I was just trying to play a role. I was just trying to sort of like fit in and like attract more masculine men because that was like his type.
Yeah.
And I think
that's also what I was trying to do when I first was kind of like introduced to the queer community. I was trying to purposely dress more masculine to attract a certain type of people. And I've like just now, like recently realized that I don't need to do that. But like it took a long time. Like it's been years, and of me feeling that way. And every now and then those thoughts still creep in, which is overall a societal issue, I think.
But at the end of the day, biggest lesson I've learned is just like be yourself. I wish I could tell that to high school me. Like, just be yourself. Stop pretending to be other people. You're gonna attract the right kinds of friends and company when you start acting like yourself. You're gonna start enjoying the people who are around you because they actually suit who you are instead of who you're trying to be.
Totally. And not only that, but like when you are yourself, not only will you be accepted by the people that truly do care for you, and you'll attract those people as well. You'll attract the people that are like-minded, but also it allows you to apply that to others as well. Like you will be more accepting of people and you will see them for who they are, and then they'll recognize that. And then it's just kind of like this like back and forth like cycle of like, I respect you, you respect me, you can be yourself, I can be myself, and it's just the best.
Yeah, it feels good. I think the first thing that you started with, though, I'd love to like circle around to that, talking about arguments, because that's something I totally experienced too. And I think it also is definitely in part of me maturing. You know what I mean? Every time that you leave a relationship, I think you should be reflecting on yourself. Like, how did I contribute to why that didn't go well? How do I want to be treated as a partner? So how should I be treating the other person? It's like, it's the same. It's like treat people how you want to be treated.
Yeah. And like, even like, man, this is super random, but like back in the day when I was a personal trainer, I randomly went to this like event where there was like speakers of like fitness entrepreneurs that like have made millions now, and like the creator of like P90X, you know that thing?
Yeah, me and my dad did that when I was like in like 8th grade.
Everybody knows P90X, like, back in the day. That was the shit. And yeah, so like the creator of like P90X like went up on stage and spoke, and then he was like randomly was talking about like his wife and like how he recently like got married, and then he was like, my job is to make her life awesome. And then he was talking about how like he would go up to her every now and then and be like, babe, like, what's my job? And she'd be like, it's to make my life awesome. And I'm like, that is so like, I was just like, the whole time that he was talking, I'm like, I hate everything that you're saying. Like, why can't she make her own life awesome? And why can't she make your life awesome? Like, why can't it be completely reciprocal and like balanced and 50-50, you know? Why is it the man's job traditionally to make the women's life cool and to make it better and to bring home the money and, you know, to like give her all these
dollar
things,
bills,
you know?
yo.
It also just like imposes this like lifestyle for women of like, I can just chill at home and cook and, you know, and then it also, I think, brings upon this like guilt for women who are in straight relationships of like, because my husband is making all of the money and because my husband's always busy and this and that, I have to now keep the house clean. I have to cook. I have to like take care of whatever. And there's this like guilt imposed upon them of like, because they make so much money, I have to pull my weight somehow.
Well, the messed up thing is yes, like household duties do predominantly fall on women, but as women are entering the workplace more and like taking on larger roles and being working mothers, those duties are still falling on women. So even if both like the man and the women are both working, the woman will still have to take on the majority of those roles, which is just like, it's messed up. And like, it makes women like have to work so much harder. You know, like things still are not 50-50, even though they may appear to be 50-50.
Yeah, totally. And like, you know, I look at a couple of relationships where it is very 50-50 and like the husband will just, you know, get down and start scrubbing some toilets and I'm like, good, you know, because like it should be that way. Like if you're both going to work, regardless of who makes the most, like it's still work and it's still hard work and you're still spending X amount of hours every single day at work. So, you know, you're both going to come home tired. So it should be split evenly, regardless who makes more.
Yeah. But getting back to like the argument thing though, I would always just expect my ex-boyfriend to just apologize. And I think I would like instigate fights. Just like if I would be upset about something, I was like, I know if I like make this thing a bigger issue than what it is, I'll get my way. And like, you know what I mean? And it's just, but now I really don't feel that way. And I think I carried that maybe a little bit into my first relationship with a woman. And I slowly started realizing, because we would kind of butt heads though. And I think that has happened a little bit with you and I, because in an argument, neither of us have folded. You know what I mean? So we really butt heads in the beginning until we realize like it's something that we need to work through together. A lot of the time, neither one of us is right or wrong, but it's like understanding where each person is coming from and listening to the other person. Yeah.
And I think you bring up a great point because actually, like in my experience with straight relationships, a lot of the time it was like I saw it as me versus them. You know, I saw it as like I need to win rather than and that carried on, like you said, like into some of my like women relationships, like, and I expected to win, and you know, my world kind of like just turned upside down when like that started to not always happen like I used to expect. And I think that's something that you really have to realize when it comes to any relationship is that it's not win or lose, and it's not you versus them. It's working as a team, because if one person loses, then technically you both lose, right? So because you are a team and it should be 50-50. So if your other 50 loses, like, well, then how are you going to be a strong team, right? So it's more so the way I see it now, working as a team and figuring out as a team and recognizing like what mistakes each person made, what things were said that didn't need to be said, how it can be improved, and then figuring out a way for the team to win rather than one person to win.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. Even if you're straight and you're watching this, like, this is an important thing for any relationship. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm so glad that I did recognize this, because it's crazy the kinds of fights that we would have in the beginning because neither of us were willing to be wrong, you know? And it's just from that experience. And I think I remember in my head thinking like, oh my God, like, I miss straight relationships because like fights were so much easier. Like I would just always win. But it's like, that's a little toxic, you know? And I'm glad that we've grown a lot together because of it.
Yeah.
And like now our fights aren't quite as explosive.
Yeah, I think that, and we're no relationships expert other than going to the University of Personal Experience.
Yeah, I don't know. I got a degree.
I don't know about you, but I got a degree, so I'm a little bit of an expert, so speak for yourself. You know what's funny is that something that like really helped us a lot personally, like was something that I picked up from like a training session at work, which was like give instant feedback, don't hold on to it. That was like a major thing, was to give instant feedback rather than letting it build up and then you leash it out like weeks later and they're like, whoa, where is this coming from? And then all of a sudden you got like a huge fight on your hands. And then just like not just give instant feedback, but just like lay it out logistically. Like, here's what I felt. Here's what I did. Here's what you did. And then this is how I think we can fix it. What do you think? And the first time that I did that, I was like, literally, it was a text message that I sent you. I was on my way. I remember it very clearly. I was on my way to a dance rehearsal and we had just had an argument and we didn't resolve the argument. And because I had to right away go to my dance rehearsal, so it kind of got cut short. So we didn't have a chance to resolve it. And like, you left mad and I like went to dance rehearsal mad. And on my way there, I was like, I remembered. I was like, wait, what was I taught at work? And then I got out my phone and I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. So I like type up this like long message and I send the message and I was being just very like, just laying it out as if I was looking at it from like a third person view. Yeah. And I was like, these are my feelings. These were the actions. These were mine. These were yours. Yeah. And it's like, this is how I think we can move forward. And then I was even like nervous to send it because I didn't know how you were going to react. This was like early on in the relationship. And I was like, boop. And then I sent it. And then I was like, and then just kind of like waiting for the response. But like my heart was beating really fast and you were like, hey, yeah, that makes total sense. And I was like, what?
Let's just be rational.
What?
Yeah, we can be rational.
This is life changing.
Yeah. And honestly, at first, when I started dating women, I thought that the fights were just crazier because we're just more hormonal, like blah, 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 like we're on our periods. But no, like this is why, because you feel like you are entitled to be right all the time. And then you figure out that you're not. And maybe some people in straight relationships also figured that out as well, because I think it's an important thing to be able to have a stable relationship. My final difference, sex, is obviously different. That's kind of a key part. Yeah, if you want to be with somebody, y'all gotta be attracted to each other. So
obviously. Okay, actually, speaking on that, bringing it back around to the girls that say, I hate men, I think I'm just gonna be a lesbian. First of all, if you're not attracted to them, Second of all, don't just like see a woman and go, hey, woman, you'll do, and then just like pick them randomly. Like, it's same rules apply. You got to be attracted to each other. You got to, get to know each other. You got to see each other's personality and physical attraction, mental attraction, spiritual attraction, and attraction. All of the attractions, morals, values.
What matters? Don't lead someone on just so you can figure yourself out. Be open and honest. If you're experimenting, tell them that.
What would be your advice to two categories? First of all, women that say, I hate men, I think I'm just going to go for women. And then second, the women that are getting hit with the girls that say, I hate men, I'm just going to go for women.
So here's the thing. I feel like within that camp, there may be two different groups of these women. One, people who are just saying that, who don't actually intend on being with a woman ever. Like they're just kind of saying that to say it. And to those people, like, it's not funny. It's not funny anymore.
Not funny.
Yeah, like, it's not cute. It's probably just the type of dude that you're picking, you know? Like,
yeah. Pick different dudes.
choose someone who treats you with respect. If you
Mhm.
notice from the get-go that they're shitty, and there's some red flags, then I would cut it.
Just cut it. You need to cut it.
Yeah, and you don't need to fix someone. If they're shitty, you deserve someone who meets you at your level. But for women who are saying that because low-key in their mind they actually just want to sleep with a girl, do it. You know, that was kind of where I was at. Like, I was with guys and I was able to have like an emotional connection with them. And I thought the physical was there, but I was just kind of like going through the motions of it. And always in the back of my mind, it was going like I always had like crushes on girls, but I would just like keep it to myself. Obviously, I'm glad that I decided to do it. Like, I ended a very long relationship with someone who I loved very much, but I knew that I needed to like experiment and go try other things. And that's why like I would recommend that for anyone. If like you're having those feelings and the thought's there, the thought's always going to be there.
That's true.
So the less time that you wait, the better.
That's true. That's actually a pretty important point. If the thought's there, you can't just suppress it and like bury it. Like the thought's gonna creep up on you. And the last thing that you want, by the way, is for a thought like that to creep up on you later on in life when you're like married and you have kids or something like that, and you're like, damn it, like I wish I would have just found out more about myself earlier on, you know? So like, you know, if you're young, now is the time to find out about yourself. Now is the time to experiment just like with, you know, yourself and really find who you are as a person. And then this is only a part of it, right? Like this isn't like, this is who you are kind of thing. Like when it comes to like dating men or women or whatever, or non-binary people. And it's just a part of it, right? And you want to figure out all parts of it, but this is an important part of it as well.
Just like on your point, I think we are so fortunate that generations before us have done so much advocacy and so much work and so much protesting so that we are able to live our lives like truthfully and openly. Like, we are so fortunate to live in the time that we do, in the place that we do. So take advantage of it. You know what I mean? We don't need to hide who we are. We're so fortunate to be able to be loud and open. Obviously, everyone's situation is different at home. But yeah, you're not going to get arrested for being gay. You're not going to get discriminated against at work, you know? Like, live your life. Be true to who you are. If it's not something that you tell your parents about just yet, that's fine too. Like, just try it out. One of my professors who helped us with Queer Collective sort of had like a special connection to it. And then he ended up telling me that he was like particularly interested in this project because his wife came out as a lesbian, like after they'd been married for a very long time and they had kids together and everything. And he's still very good friends with her. And he just recognizes that like she wasn't able to come out of the closet then, and like she was just trying to suppress it for a very long time. And but they did have like a real connection, and like I have also had like that kind of real connection with men, and like it doesn't make it any less valid. Like those relationships aren't invalid. Like those were real. I think you can have really deep friendships with people as well. It's just like when you're dating someone, you're hanging out with them 24/7, you share so much information with them, like that can create a very special bond.
Of course. And that's super sweet of your professor as well. That's super
sweet.
Cute. I'm so glad that he's was able to be supportive, because that must have been very hard for her, but it's also hard for him. Since he's was her lifelong partner. And you know, having more than just a connection, like having kids and everything, like that adds an extra layer. And wow, that's like super supportive, and that's crazy, and that's so cool. For all you gays out there that are getting hit with these stray women saying like, you know, they hate men and that they just they want to go for girls, it's just, you know, be cautious. Be cautious. Like, live your life, but be cautious, especially if you're a little softy like me.
One night stands are fine if like both people are on the same page, but just make sure, just, you know, communication's important. Make sure you guys have
Standards,
the same
expectations. Yeah, that's very important. So just live your life, but also take care of you and make sure that there's communication.
Word. If you're new to the channel, then thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you to the people who keep coming back every week and supporting us and liking and commenting on the videos. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys again so much for watching. And if you're listening to the podcast, thank you so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, whether you're on the podcast app or you're on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so that you know when the next one drops. We are making these podcasts weekly. So every Wednesday there will be a drop. And also make sure you like the video because it really helps us out. With that being said, that's it for us, and we are out of here. Peace.